Hello all and welcome back to High Ridge Farm with me, the Walrus, as we're now entering into midweek of our glorious springtime escapades, and I'm now going to actually utilise the horse at some point today and zip around like a madman. Now, copper bars are a primary ingredient in one of my mad ideas, which is going to be a mass production of kegs, so I can ferment as much alcohol as physically possible. Along with that, I also want to start making some vegetable juice medley things. But more importantly, alcohol! This is why I shouldn't be allowed to actually have any form of farm or agriculture. I would just turn it into a booze-making thing. I'm awful, I'm well aware of this. Now, I'm also still lamenting the fact that I'm an idiot and forgot that I purchased the Deluxe Speed Grow as well as normal Speed Grow, so I know that the potatoes I planted aren't going to grow as quickly, but at the same time that's not as much of a concern, considering I actually have already got enough potatoes in the storage bins and fridges and such, which is good, because that makes my life a bit easier. And it also does mean that I can actually save the potatoes for later, as I can use them to make hash browns, which are used in, I believe, one of the dish of the sea. One of the ones that does improve your fishing still. All the same, very helpful stuff. Now, of course, I'm saving a little bit of space inside here, because I do want to be able to plant a couple of trees from Ginger Island in there, so I would very much like to have those. And one of the things that still befuddled me, thankfully not as much as it could have done, was I had to remember that pineapples do not grow on trees. They're actually more like a herb. They grow on a bush. They're like a small bushy thing. And yeah, I momentarily had forgotten that. I was thinking, oh yeah, surely I can get a pineapple tree. And then had a sudden lapse of judgment and decided to do a lot of Googling about pineapple trees and felt very stupid. But again, I never claimed to be an intelligent man, which I think is my only saving grace at this point, is I know I'm an idiot, so nah. Now, of course, I've got myself a nice stack of salmon berries that are going to be quite helpful in the later running part of trying to obtain more iridium and prismatic shards and other miscellaneous useful stuff from Skull Cavern. I know full well that I am also going to need to get myself a lot more bombs and maybe even make a bunch of the staircases just to allow myself to move around a bit faster. I will admit I've also never really used the staircases. I know they are a very useful thing actually to allow you to get around in any of the underground areas very quickly. However, just never really used them. Okay, I'm just going to quickly cut this one down. I'm going to scythe. Do I want to scythe it? Nah, I'll leave the grass for the time being. It was one of those contemplations. I actually kind of wanted to grow wild and get all over the place, because then it'll give me more stuff to harvest. In the same way, I probably should, where I've got the coppicing trees that I'm going to cut down, and I'm not sure whether I want to replenish them or if I want to then replace it with just grass. Maybe I'll do that at the beginning of summer, as a grassy field will be very useful, but at the same time I do need more wood. It's a big concern of mine at the moment, is I don't have enough wood. Thankfully that's not too difficult to do. Ooh, a train's passing through. I wonder if I can catch it. Come on, horsey, let's go. Good old horsey McHorseface. Such speed. Much wow. I always forget if coffee actually affects your horse movement speed or not. I don't believe it does. But hey, I'm going to go and try and find a train. It might be useful. I might get something from it. And I know there's some salmon berries on the way back, which is good. Come on. So, what have we got? There's the train. It's there. Oh, I'm not really getting anything from it. That's a shame. Do I need to hit the train? No, apparently not. I'm repeatedly bashing the A button. It's not doing anything, so... Okay, well, a train passed through Stardew Valley, and it gave me a grand total of nothing. I could have sworn trains give you stuff. Maybe that's just a random chance that they drop items for you. And today was not my lucky day. Only because I've seen the train drop things on one of the very rare occasions that I've actually paid attention and I've been in the area or been able to quickly get here. And let's just quickly cast this in here because I know that there's a necklace in here. And bobbing away. There we go. Now, this one is Abigail's mother's necklace. Caroline, I believe. And yes, I am going to return it to her, and I'm sure it'll make her feel like a right twit. I know that it's just a secret note that kind of gives you the indication that it's lost there. But still, how could you... I mean, it's a bit of a bizarre thing to lose, and how one lost it is a bit of an oddity. But maybe that's just me. I've never really been one for wearing much jewellery. I've worn a ring for a bit, and that's about it. I did have a time where I used to wear a necklace a lot when in my younger days whilst I was at college, or more closely related to high school for any Americans, because it was between 16 and 18, so the tail end of high school. But yeah, it was an odd thing. It was one of those things that I'd purchased on I think it was actually on a German exchange. I picked it up and thought it looked really cool and just kept wearing it. But hey, that's jewellery for you. All the same, we've got it, so that does mean that we can return it to Abigail, which is good. And I believe that will also bump up our friendship with her quite a bit more. I'm still not entirely sure as to who I want to approach for relationship/marriage prospects at the moment. Now, I will also admit I've been focusing primarily on heterosexual relationships, and that's just more of a pattern of default on that one for me. I mean, I've done a couple of playthroughs where I've had gay relationships, hence why I think it's secretly it's the gay playthrough I did. I got in a relationship with Shane. That's why I've got a big soft spot for him, because I know that he has a traumatic life and I feel really bad for him. But hey ho, that's how this goes. Righty, I would like to purchase a large quantity of hay, please, because hay. And oh goodness, I'm going to eat through a lot of my own money doing this. Not really the end of the world, but it's going to be a pain all the same. But I have spent a lot of money recently upgrading tools, building the horse shed, stable, horse house thing. And I think that's going to continue. I'm going to keep spanking loads of money into construction projects. Predominantly, it's going to be upgrading the shed's size, because I want it to be a bigger shed, and maybe multiple sheds and more ponds. And I also need a lot more hardwood so I can purchase the house upgrade, because I very much would like a bigger house. And the next upgrade will give me the opportunity to put casks in to age the wine, and that turns it from basic quality to iridium, and that makes it really valuable. Now, as well as this, of course, I'm going to have a quick look through here. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to doing some much more needed construction and smelting, as, of course, running back to the farm centre isn't really anything too exciting, but I do need more iron, I need more copper, and it's going to be a constant production cycle at the moment, so maybe I should start burning some more logs and turning that into charcoal. At the same time, I do know full well I really need to get my butt in gear and start mining more so I can try and get more coal. It's just a fiddle that I might have to avoid hitting any deposits of gold, copper, iron and the like, because I don't want more of that. I want more of the coal. I think I can purchase it from Clint. Maybe that's something I should do. Well, all the same, I'm building myself a bunch of kegs. I have a bunch of resources that were ready, so I still need more iron for it, but I've built myself 17 new kegs, so that's nearly filled the entirety of the shed with kegs, which will be fantastic, because that'll mean I'll be able to produce the potato juice from from the potatoes, shockingly enough, who would have guessed? But also be able to start producing more starfruit wine. And that's going to be, again, very helpful, because that's really my biggest profit maker at the moment. And I do really want to save up enough to buy the return scepter. As I mentioned in the last episode, I've not actually ever purchased it, which feels quite strange to me that I've never actually managed to buy it. Maybe it's because I've not really focused on that at any point, but it is something I really should do. Now, I'm also well aware that I screwed up the layout of the barrels there, so I am going to just quickly grab some more starfruits and other things that should go in them, and I am also going to remove the lower selection first and redistribute, because I want it to be vaguely organised looking. There we go. 1, 2. Excellent. So let's pop in the starfruit, and then we can make some more wine. Now, I know that it does take longer to make wine than the fruit juices. Again, I don't actually know how long that actually takes, however. I probably should pay attention at some point on that one. This is where I'm also probably talking completely out of my backside regarding how quickly juices are made versus wine. But I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty darn sure that is the case. Again, I could be talking nonsense. Now, so it's coming up to the late middle evening, I would suggest, in early spring, so it must be quite nice and balmy out. I imagine that springtime there is probably more closely related to a March here in England, as, my goodness, it's still bitterly cold. We're currently dealing with -5 degrees at the moment. Now, I know that might not sound like a hugely cold night, but I'm English. I whinge about the weather. That's literally how we do things. We just complain lots. It's just what we do. That and get uppity about the colonials or something. Maybe. Hey, you tell me. I don't know. Right, now. Otherwise, there isn't a huge amount left in today other than just a little bit more admin work. Part of it is going to be because I don't believe I actually did very much with the animals entirely today, but I have now deposited enough hay in there which will tie me over for a few more days. I mean, 200 hay should tie me over for a reasonable amount of time. However, I am aware that that is something that I need, and I really need to organise growing more grass and also making sure I've got a decent amount of silo storage space. Now, I'm looking at these iridium sprinklers at them going, now how many of them do I actually need? So I'm doing a little bit of the maths whilst I'm having a look here, and I'm sort of working out in my head, where can I place them? How many can I do? Now, I'm well aware that I had 5 iridium bars because, of course, I had a very quick look in the chest. So it's not too difficult to make. I've got another 5, which is good. This area here, before the shift of seasons, I will flatten and restart, because I want more iridium sprinklers, as they are better, shockingly enough. But I also know that this isn't exactly the most viable land for growing, because it's a funky shape. There's not that much of a plot. Now, part of that is because I have chosen this particular farm, and I'm painfully aware of that. Space is at a premium here, and that's something that I really need to deal with, is that space is a high premium. However, I will endeavour to have more crops planted, and once I can move the shed, however, this area here will become another more intensive crop growth area, because I wish to have the sheds actually closer to the house, essentially where the seeds are, near the iridium sprinklers just to my left there. But we'll see how that goes. It's one of those, it might take a little bit of time, but it'll be good more than anything. Now, let's just replant. I'm going to make sure that I put some fertilizer on these. because I do want to have more hardwood. So I'm going to plant all 22 of these seeds. I've got 27 of the tree fertilizer, which should keep that growth going. And unfortunately, I've left the hoe in Clint's. I don't think he's actually finished it. So that random seed that I've planted there by accident will probably remain there for the time being. Because I don't want to lose it, I just want to pick it up and replant it. Now, as of course mentioned previously, once these trees are grown and cut down, here is where the beehives will go. And I'm going to redistribute that ready for the next season. I'm going to put probably a quality sprinkler in the middle of it, just to give the flowers growth opportunity. As I would very much like lots of nice honeys, because honey's lovely and fantastic. And of course, I'm going to quickly slap these down here as I want more of the hardwood. Of course, being careful that I don't lose the hardwood into the river is going to be the big thing. Now, of course, this area here that I'm using for the tree growth section is going to be a bit of a weird one, because I know it's also a large area of flat land that's not really being used as efficiently as I could. The trouble is, it's making sure that I have a decent amount of wood at the moment. Once I've managed to gather a decent amount, then that area will probably become farmland quite quickly. And I don't think that's too difficult to organise, to be fair. Now, let's just quickly redistribute some of the things into the chests. I've got 4 quality sprinklers. It's not a silly amount, but it's something for the time being. It's easy enough, which is good. Now, what else do we have that we need to deal with? Well, it's getting late. I think tonight, not much. It's going to be into bed, be ready for the next day. And that's not going to be too bad. So we've got ourselves a lot of guff there, as you can see. And I probably should redistribute what we've got in there and maybe build another chest. One of which should become a decorations box more than anything, I think. That's probably the better way of putting it, more than anything. However, at the moment, do have to organise a little bit more cooking, because there's still more stuff that I know I haven't cooked and shipped out. The shipping out isn't as much of a deal, but I do want to try and cook every recipe, as I know that that's an achievement I've never actually obtained on any of my playthroughs, because I don't tend to focus on the cooking, which is a shame, because there is so much opportunity to gain beneficial end goals and results from it. But we'll see. But for now, it's time for bed. I mean, 20 to 1 is, I think, a reasonable bedtime. Maybe. Not saying anything, because I tend to go to sleep around 4 AM, so that's my own silly fault. Spreading weeds have caused damage. Now, I'm curious as to what that actually is, because I know that that can actually be just because you've got grass growing everywhere and it's just damaged some of your stone walls. But we will see soon enough. Aha! Some more wine is ready. Lovely stuff. That's more starfruit wine. Now, I know I've got some coffee beans. I probably should put those in, to be fair. More coffee. Yes, please. As previously mentioned, I am horribly dependent on caffeine. It is something that I need to live. And I will say that repeatedly, because it's true. So any kids out there, please, for the love of all that is holy out there, don't start drinking coffee or caffeinated energy drinks. Just don't do it. Don't get hooked. It's a very soft addiction in the grand scheme of things, but it is something that I know full well I am genuinely addicted to, because I need it. And it's not great, to be fair. But it's only coffee. And I'm just not a big tea drinker. I never have been. It's one of those things that I struggle with, as I have some... When I lived in the United States for a while, I had a few American friends who actually drank significantly more tea than I did, and would pester me every time I went back to England to bring back nice packets of tea. Not too difficult, but would then be bemused and surprised when I wouldn't partake with them, because I just don't like the taste. But hey-ho, I never claimed to be a particularly sensible man or a man that can be easily understood. Anyway, we're rolling in on Thursday. I'm going to quickly neck this triple shot espresso. Lovely stuff. Now, we've got all these cauliflowers grown, which is good. But what next? Of course, this farmland here was only placed here for the sake of convenience, more than anything, as it allowed me to grow the rice plants much more quickly, as of course they like being near water. Although I didn't actually realise that it's not that the rice plants are that thirsty, it's actually that they are able to deal with being submerged. They don't mind so much. And weeds that would normally plague them can't handle the water and the high levels of liquid, which I didn't realise, and is actually as one of those, oh, that's quite clever. But also looking into other things such as the projects of dealing with a mixture of having, I think, is it carp and ducks introduced into a rice paddy, because carp will also eat some of the insect pests that plague rice fields, as well as the ducks will. But both of their poo is fertilizer, so it works rather nicely for both of them. And if you're clever about it, of course, you can catch both the ducks and the carp. And the ducks you can get eggs from, which is great. And duck is delicious, as is carp. So fantastic stuff all round, really. It's just a very good way of maximising your yield from a particular plot of land, which I think is clever and makes perfect bloody sense. Okay, so we've got our hot pepper here, which I'm going to give to our lovely mayor. I don't believe I've given him 2 gifts this week, but that might be incorrect. Now, I'm also aware that I still need to try and find more purple mushrooms for my purpley fish. I've had a brain fart. I've totally forgotten what's in there. I know it's purple. Yes. I am an incredibly intelligent man who has no idea what he's doing, is essentially what's happened there. Yeah, I think I should demolish this wall section and just turn this area into a grass growth block more than anything. Look at all those eggs! You can tell I haven't actually come by here in a couple of days like an absolute muppet. I really need to get this on the go. Anyway, right, let's quickly process these eggs into mayonnaise, and that will free up some space and also give me the opportunity to have greater results sooner rather than later, which is good, as more mayonnaise is more sellable. Hurrah! And it's the same with the cheeses, really. It's more of that, more sales, fantastic stuff. Now, so there's all that out of the way. I do also want to hold on to a few eggs because I know that they are useful in general cooking recipes, so it wouldn't hurt to have a few. I'm just going to quickly put the eggs in here for now, just to get them out of the way, because I can't really do anything with them right now, but I do need them. Okay, so off we trot. Bloop. I do love these mini obelisks. They make life so much easier. Being able to teleport around the farm like that is an absolute godsend. Makes life so much easier, and especially considering how lazy I am anyway. If I had like an obelisk like that in my house and I could just teleport between my house and wherever, like a workplace or something, that'd be fantastic. It's just make life so much easier. Especially considering I've had office jobs, I've run shops and done all sorts of little things. Just being able to just go, hear me out. I don't have to commute. Whoop. Be great. Especially if I then didn't have to. I mean, you'd obviously have to commute at least once to set up said obelisk, but at the same time, no commuting time. Fantastic. And it would make life generally a lot easier for dealing with lunch breaks, or if you forget something, or stuff like that. Mad fantasies aside, as we all know, magic isn't really a thing that is a big thing in the world. And Haley, well, I've been looking for her for all week. I haven't actually found her very much. Okay, so copper ore, that's not too difficult, methinks. And I've got my big old pots of maple syrup, which apparently everybody just likes chugging maple syrup in town. Either that or they just have a bit of a pancake thing, which I think is very fair. And of course we are running up to Shrove Tuesday, which of course in the UK is traditionally a pancake day, and I'm sure it's very much the same elsewhere in the rest of Europe and the world. Well, maybe not the entire world, but it is Pancake Tuesday, which is going to be fantastic. And I will freely admit I'm an absolute sucker for a good crepe. Lemon and sugar for me, not maple syrup. It's only a light sprinkling of sugar as well. I like the tang of the lemon juice. Especially goes well with the sweet crepes. But I know that particularly you can get them in the German market so much, and you see them all over the place with Nutella. There we go, Abigail. We've returned your mother's necklace to you. You absolute wally. Don't throw it into the bathhouse pond outside. You weirdo. As characters go, I do enjoy Abigail because she's very silly. Which I think is reasonable. Especially if you live in a small little village like this where everybody knows everybody. It's kind of being a bit daft will make you stand out. Which she does lament that she knows she's a bit different, she's a bit unusual. But to be fair, everybody in town's a bit weird. They've all got their interesting little quirks. And, well, I'm just still debating, still contemplating who I want to marry. It's an absolute pickle. Thank you, Clint. There you go. Have a gold bar, because I'm just a nut. Imagine just racking up to a local shop and being like, here, I brought you a brick of gold. I would be very much confused. Elated, definitely, but very much confused. And I think that's perfectly reasonable, to be fair. Because who does that? And as I previously mentioned in a lot of other games, I've never really played the farming sim games like Harvest Moon before I actually played Stardew Valley. And it was purely because I watched a friend playing and I thought that looks absolutely adorable. It's just such a sweet looking game. And there are things in it that just make me go, ooh, that's a little bit darker than I was expecting. Even Kent, as an actual character, because he's come back from war that is currently ongoing. It's not like it's entirely peaceful in Pelican Town, which is really sad. And then you've got the ancient wars between the dwarfs and the shadow people and all sorts of weird and wonderful. But it's interesting and I love it. Hence why I started doing this. It's just something about this game is peaceful, it's lovely, and it's just relaxing to play. And it's one of the problems I actually have with the game in some ways, because I have to fight the urge to just keep playing it when I've been doing recording, because I like to record a week, make sure I can do all the editing, do all the voice work and all that stuff, and then I get distracted because I could be like, but hear me out, I could just complete the entire year tonight, be great. And I have done that before. The very first time I played the game, I absolutely blitzed it over the course of maybe 3 days. I was on holiday at the time, and it was very bad. I'd played some inordinate number of hours of Stardew. I think I must have done a year and a half. I barely moved. It was very bad. And unfortunately, I have a bit of an addictive personality, so I find things like that very dangerous. It's why I avoid MMOs like the plague, because I know, well, if I get lost down that rabbit hole, I'm never leaving my house ever again. However, now I've also got my large quantity of wood that I've gathered here. I've got some more salmon berries to grab from that very bush there. But 206 of them is pretty good, I think. And I know they're not going to restore the utmost of my energy and my health, but they're more than enough for a quick snack, methinks, and that will provide me health and energy, especially when I'm exploring in the caves. It's a bit of a weird concept, though, just reaching into your pocket and just pulling out a berry to nibble on whilst a monster is trying to eat your face. But hey, if it works for you, and it works in Stardew Valley, fantastic. Okay, so we have done that. I'm going to quickly grab a few of these. There's some more salmon berries, so we're getting quite a lot of them. The trouble is, of course, I know they're not a very valuable fruit, so it's actually more valuable to me as a useful commodity than as an actual saleable item, which I don't think is a terrible thing in the grand scheme of things. It'd be nice if they were more valuable, but they're not, which makes sense considering how abundant they are, especially with the bear's knowledge, which thankfully, due to the secret notes, was able to get hold of very quickly. I've still got to work my way through a few more of the secret notes, however, and I think I need to actually work my way through at least another 3 or 4. Of course, finding the necklace was one of them, and that's a useful little tidbit of information on that one. But there are more that I need to work through. However, it's going to be identifying which ones need working on and doing them as easily possible. Let's see. So we've got some more horseradish, some other miscellaneous forageable guff. I don't really need that or that. And I'm just going to plant the seeds here just because it's a little bit more plant growth. And maybe along that little path up here might not be a terrible place to put more occasional trees rather than a clump of them like I have above the animal area. It's probably not a terrible thing to do, really, to be fair. Right, I'm going to move these because I have plans for that area. I'm going to put them here for now. Let's put that there. Fantastic. I don't really need that many of them, but they are useful. Okay, so put the bait on that. Redistribute what guff we've got in here, as I'm going to need 4 of these, I think. I'm going to grab that one, and at least this one. So that'll be 3 sprinklers. And we've got some more mushrooms to grab. Excellent stuff. I understand why they're not anything better than very basic mushrooms there, but it'd be nice to see better ones. Oh well. Right, so I'm going to place the floor bit down first. Once I figure out exactly where I want to plonk the blasted thing. I think, yeah, here's going to be the best place for them. Right, let's put this here, because of course when you use the hoe, you don't hoe up placed floor material like those. You do, however, dig them up. Well, it can be easy to accidentally dig up just placed on ground things like the quality sprinkler that's been put in the ground. Now, I think I may have made I made a mistake here. Drat. Oh well. So this area does need to be, I need to be careful about how I distribute stuff in this area, because I don't think that's going to work very well. Now, of course, I don't really know what I'm going to plant there, but that is going to be a growing area for the time being. Again, I'm going to redistribute and reorganize much more heavily come the new season during the summer. I've still got another week and a half of spring for the time being to work through, which shouldn't be awful. And it should allow me a decent amount of strawberries coming into season, as I do want to have a lot of strawberries moving forward. They're one of those items that makes, I think, a lot more sense to just quickly stick in a preserve jar and turn into jam. Although I probably should hold on to maybe 20 of them and use them as gifts for both Maru and Demetrius, as that'll probably be the most sensible thing to do with that. At the same time, though, they are currently growing. I think I've got 3 bushes growing in my bedroom in Stardew Valley. I wish I had some growing here right now, but it would give me the opportunity to just deal with friendship if needs be with that, which isn't too difficult and also quite helpful. Now, so that's the potatoes put away. I've got that random piece of art still that I haven't done anything with, and I've also got all of those preserves that I need to deal with. Okay, so the preserve jars, once I build the second shed, will be in there, and that'll be my predominant area of growth for that, as I want to have a much more industrial application of preserves being done, all the pickling and miscellanea and such. Now, what other things can I put in the keg? Well, let's put these other 3 star fruits in. So that'll be done in a few days, and that'll give me a bit more, which is good. So it's going to be cloudy, so no rain. I need it to rain. I need to make some rain totems. I've got no choice. I've got very little choice in the matter. I just need to make some because they are so needed right now. I need it to chuck it down because I want rain. Because I want to try and catch the legend fish, and I don't want to wait another blooming year for it. It's only rained once so far, I think, during the spring season. I just haven't had the chance to do anything with it, which is very annoying. Okay, now we're wrapping up the end of the day, so I will say, please do tune in again when I next do my next upload, and if you did like it, please do like, share and subscribe. However, it's not quite the end of this video, because after mentioning about George and his leeks with eggs for breakfast, I decided to give it a go this evening. And it's definitely not a breakfast meal for me, but it was a chili and leeks with garlic on toast. And I thought I'd give it a go. So here's me in the kitchen frying up some leeks, and that was quite nice with the garlic and chili. And then, of course, adding some eggs. Now, unfortunately, I managed to get so hungry cooking it, I scoffed a lot before I took photos of it on the toast. But I was a very happy walrus at the end of it. But it was very delicious. But thank you again, and I'll catch you on the next Walrus Plays.